Pam Bondi stood silently at the front of the classroom, her heart pounding hard as Mr. Carter's voice echoed mockingly, "Let us see how smart you really are, Pam. Solve this equation, since you clearly think you belong in my advanced class." The entire room filled with suppressed laughter and murmurs, eyes fixed on Pam, waiting for her humiliation. But what nobody in that classroom knew, not even the arrogant Mr. Carter, was that Pam Bondi was about to reveal something so extraordinary it would leave everyone speechless. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you do not miss the shocking and inspiring stories we share every day. Pam adjusted her glasses, stepping toward the whiteboard cautiously. Her classmates whispered quietly, shaking their heads in disbelief. She could hear Sarah, sitting at the front, muttering softly, "There is no way she can do this," and Ben replying quietly, "This is embarrassing." Pam felt her chest tighten, knowing everyone doubted her. She glanced briefly at Mr. Carter, whose smug smile only widened as she stood frozen, looking at the board. "Come on, Pam," Mr. Carter said impatiently, crossing his arms, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "This is not rocket science, at least not for someone truly advanced." A few students chuckled openly this time, encouraged by his tone. Pam swallowed hard, staring at the complex mathematical symbols and numbers scribbled hastily on the board. To anyone else, the equation appeared impossible, something meant to humiliate rather than educate. As she picked up the marker, her hand trembled slightly, causing another wave of quiet laughter. Pam could feel the judgmental eyes piercing through her confidence, but deep within her heart, a spark ignited. She tightened her grip on the marker, her fingers steadying. Mr. Carter raised an eyebrow mockingly, unaware of the storm of intelligence hidden behind her quiet demeanor. "Mr. Carter," Pam suddenly said, her voice steady, "would you like me to solve this using classical calculus methods, or would you prefer I use the differential equation approach to make it clearer for everyone?" The classroom fell instantly silent, smiles freezing into confusion. Mr. Carter blinked, momentarily stunned, the smirk vanishing slowly from his face. "Excuse me?" he finally asked, bewildered. Pam lifted her chin, meeting his stunned gaze confidently. "I just want to clarify so my classmates can follow along easily," she said, her voice firm and calm. The twist in her tone made students glance at each other in shock, realizing something incredible was about to unfold. Mr. Carter's face turned slightly red as he hesitated, clearly unsure how to respond. Pam Bondi turned toward the board again, took a deep breath, and began to write. Every stroke of her marker sent waves of astonishment rippling through the classroom as she effortlessly filled the board with calculations, leaving Mr. Carter standing speechless and changing the way everyone saw her forever. Pam continued writing with perfect precision, each step of her calculation leaving the entire classroom silent and captivated. The scratching of her marker echoed softly in the tense silence, and students began leaning forward, their eyes wide with disbelief. The very classmates who had mocked her moments before were now exchanging glances of confusion and amazement. Mr. Carter stood motionless, his arms now hanging limply at his sides, his arrogant confidence rapidly fading into bewilderment. After a few minutes, Pam stepped back from the board, her complex solution neatly displayed for everyone to see. Turning toward Mr. Carter, she calmly asked, "Is this explanation clear enough, sir, or should I elaborate further?" A wave of stunned whispers flooded through the room as every eye turned toward their teacher. Sarah, who had whispered doubt before, now sat with her mouth slightly open in astonishment. Ben shook his head, murmuring quietly, "I had no idea she was this smart." Mr. Carter, visibly struggling to regain his composure, stepped toward the board slowly, examining the equations carefully, clearly hoping to find an error. Yet, as each moment passed, his face grew pale. His eyes moved rapidly, desperately seeking a flaw that simply was not there. Finally, he cleared his throat, turning back toward Pam, his voice unsteady. "Where? Did you learn this, Pam?" Pam met his gaze steadily, her eyes reflecting a quiet strength. "My parents taught me advanced mathematics at a very young age. It always came naturally to me, even if people refused to see past the color of my skin." Her words were gentle yet powerful, filled with a deeper meaning that hung heavily in the air. The classroom fell into absolute silence, the full weight of her statement resonating deeply with everyone present. Students who had judged her just moments before now lowered their gazes in embarrassment. Pam had not only solved a complicated equation effortlessly, she had exposed something far greater, a hidden prejudice that had quietly lingered within those classroom walls. Mr. Carter, now visibly shaken and deeply uncomfortable, cleared his throat once more, his voice low and hesitant. "Pam, I had no idea. I never intended—" But Pam interrupted gently, her tone firm and steady. "Sometimes the assumptions we carry inside us do more harm than we realize, sir. Perhaps today can teach us all something about looking beyond appearances." Her words echoed through the classroom, forcing everyone, including Mr. Carter, to reflect deeply on their own hidden biases. Pam Bondi had done more than simply solve a complex equation. She had exposed a truth far greater and more meaningful, one that would leave an indelible mark on their hearts forever. Mr. Carter stood silently for a moment, visibly struggling to accept what had just happened. The tension in the classroom became almost unbearable. Pam slowly returned to her seat, feeling the eyes of her classmates on her, but this time the glances carried respect rather than ridicule. No one dared to whisper a word, each student reflecting deeply on their own behavior. Breaking the silence, Mr. Carter spoke again, but now his voice carried a humbled tone. "Pam, you have opened my eyes today. It appears I was the one who needed to learn a lesson, not you." His words hung in the air, raw and honest, shocking everyone in the room. Never before had they seen him openly admit fault. Pam looked up at him calmly. "Thank you, sir. I only hope it is a lesson that stays with us all." Suddenly, from the back of the class, Sarah spoke up, her voice hesitant yet sincere. "Pam, I'm sorry for judging you. That was wrong of me." Her statement triggered a ripple effect throughout the class. One by one, others echoed her sentiments, each apology filling the room with sincerity and regret. Mr. Carter nodded slowly, absorbing the profound moment. He then turned to address the class, his voice firm yet remorseful. "Class, Pam has shown us that brilliance has no color, no background, and no boundaries. Talent and intelligence deserve our respect always. I hope everyone remembers this lesson." Pam felt a quiet strength growing inside her, knowing that today's events had changed something essential in the hearts and minds of everyone present. But, as the class settled, an unexpected visitor appeared at the door, a school administrator holding a stern expression. "Mr. Carter, could you step outside for a moment?" the administrator requested in a serious tone. The students exchanged confused glances. Something unexpected was clearly unfolding. Pam felt her heartbeat quicken. She sensed that today's lesson had not yet reached its true climax. Whatever was about to happen next would reveal deeper truths, ones that even she had not anticipated. Mr. Carter stepped hesitantly outside the classroom door, his face pale and unsettled. Every student strained to catch any fragment of conversation, curiosity tightening their chests. Pam sat quietly, her mind racing, wondering what further revelations the day might bring. Suddenly, Principal Thompson appeared at the doorway, his expression severe. He stepped inside, addressing the class with measured authority. "Students, what happened here today was brought to my attention through a concerned parent. I understand a very serious incident occurred." His gaze shifted directly toward Pam, eyes filled with concern. "Pam Bondi, could you please join us in the hallway?" The students exchanged anxious looks, whispering softly, wondering what could possibly come next. As Pam rose from her seat and moved toward the door, she felt the eyes of her classmates following her every step, each one desperate to unravel the mystery unfolding around them. Once outside, Principal Thompson gently addressed Pam. "I have just learned about Mr. Carter's behavior toward you today. His actions were unacceptable, and I owe you a sincere apology on behalf of the entire school." Pam stood in shock, unsure of how to respond. Before she could speak, Mr. Carter intervened softly. "Principal Thompson is right. My conduct today was shameful. I failed to uphold the values I always taught my students." Pam looked into Mr. Carter's eyes and saw genuine remorse, a realization washing over his face that went beyond mere apology. It was true understanding. Yet the principal wasn't finished. "Pam, your mother has been informed of today's events. She is waiting for you in my office," Principal Thompson added, his voice both comforting and serious. Pam felt a sudden rush of emotion. Her mother, her rock, her strength, was now involved. She knew her mother would never accept injustice silently, but what Pam didn't yet know was how far her mother was prepared to go to ensure no student would ever endure what she faced today. The situation was escalating quickly, and something told Pam this was only the beginning of a battle that would extend far beyond the classroom walls. Pam stepped cautiously into Principal Thompson's office, her heart pounding anxiously in her chest. Seated in the corner, her mother, Elizabeth Bondi, rose swiftly, moving toward Pam with a protective urgency in her eyes. "Pam, are you all right?" Elizabeth asked, wrapping her daughter tightly in her arms. Pam nodded slowly, finding comfort in her mother's familiar embrace. "I am fine, Mom," she whispered, though her voice trembled slightly, revealing the truth behind her brave facade. Elizabeth turned sharply to Principal Thompson, her gentle demeanor instantly replaced by fierce determination. "I demand an explanation," she stated firmly, her eyes blazing with protective anger. How could a teacher humiliate a student in front of an entire class and still be allowed in this building? Principal Thompson shifted uneasily, glancing toward Mr. Carter, who now stood silently near the doorway, visibly shaken. "Mrs. Bondi, I assure you, this matter is being taken extremely seriously," Thompson responded cautiously. "Not seriously enough," Elizabeth interrupted, her voice unwavering. "My daughter was treated unjustly, ridiculed, mocked publicly for no reason other than a teacher's prejudice. This cannot be swept under the rug." At that moment, Mr. Carter stepped forward hesitantly, clearly troubled by guilt. "Mrs. Bondi, Pam, I am deeply ashamed of my actions. My intention was never—" "Your intentions are meaningless now," Elizabeth cut in sharply, her tone resolute. Actions speak louder than intentions. You tried to embarrass my daughter, not realizing her worth, her intellect, her strength. That is something neither she nor I will ever forget." Mr. Carter lowered his head in sincere shame, finally recognizing the depth of pain his actions had caused. Pam watched quietly, feeling pride swell within her at her mother's fearless defense. But Pam also knew the situation was far from resolved. Elizabeth turned back toward the principal, determination etched into her face. "I will ensure this never happens to another child in your school again. This is not just about Pam. It is about justice for every student who suffers silently." Principal Thompson's eyes widened, recognizing the gravity of her words. Elizabeth Bondi had made her stance unmistakably clear. She would not rest until true justice was served. Pam stood taller, strengthened by her mother's unshakable support, yet silently wondering, what bold step would her mother take next, and just how far was she willing to go for justice? The very next morning, Pam walked nervously toward the school's entrance, unsure what awaited her inside. But as she approached, her footsteps slowed, her eyes widening in disbelief. Gathered outside the school were dozens of parents, students, and even some teachers holding signs that read, "Justice for Pam," and "Stop Teacher Bias Now." At the center stood Elizabeth Bondi, calm yet powerful, speaking passionately to a news crew that had quickly arrived to cover the unfolding drama. Pam felt her heart swell with pride as she heard her mother's strong voice clearly stating, "This is not only about my daughter, it is about every child who has faced prejudice, humiliation, and injustice in the classroom." Students gathered around Pam, showing their support with comforting smiles and encouraging nods. Her friend Ashley stepped close, whispering, "Your mom is incredible, Pam. The entire school is talking about how brave she is." Mr. Carter stood quietly off to the side, observing the scene with profound regret. He had underestimated both Pam's intelligence and the fierce resolve of Elizabeth Bondi. Principal Thompson appeared beside him, his expression tense, murmuring, "I told you this would escalate. Now we must face the consequences." Elizabeth finished her interview and moved quickly toward Pam, embracing her warmly. "You will never be alone in this fight," Elizabeth assured her gently, squeezing her hand. "We are standing together, not just for you, but for every student whose voice has been silenced." The protest had drawn more attention than anyone anticipated. Soon, district officials arrived, clearly alarmed by the public outcry. They approached Elizabeth cautiously, aware that this situation had spiraled beyond simple classroom discipline. But Elizabeth stood tall, determined to deliver her message clearly and directly. Pam watched her mother handle the officials with unwavering strength, realizing fully just how powerful her mother truly was. Elizabeth was not just fighting for her, she was fighting against injustice itself. But as the officials began questioning her mother, Pam felt a sudden unease. Would this be enough to change deeply rooted biases, or would this bold stand trigger even greater backlash against her mother, herself, and other students caught in the crossfire? Just then, the superintendent stepped forward, eyes fixed on Elizabeth Bondi. "Mrs. Bondi, we need to speak privately. Now." Pam held her breath. What was going to happen next? Could one mother's courage truly spark lasting change, or would this powerful stance bring even greater consequences? The answers were moments away. Elizabeth Bondi and the superintendent stepped away from the crowd, moving to a quieter spot near the school entrance. Pam strained to hear their conversation, her heart pounding nervously. Around her, whispers rose among students and parents, everyone sensing that something critical was about to unfold. "I understand your concerns," the superintendent began cautiously, his voice carrying a hint of worry. "But making a public spectacle is not the proper way to handle this situation." Elizabeth looked him directly in the eye, her voice firm and unwavering. "This spectacle, as you call it, is the only reason you are here right now. My daughter was humiliated publicly, and I refuse to let this school cover it up quietly. She deserves an apology, not just privately, but openly, where the damage was done." The superintendent hesitated, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. Elizabeth continued confidently, her tone demanding yet respectful. "I am here not only for my daughter, but for every child who has been treated unfairly due to prejudice. Either you address this openly, or I assure you, this will not end today." Nearby, Mr. Carter watched anxiously, fully realizing the depth of his mistake. His arrogant confidence had dissolved into genuine concern. He knew that Elizabeth was not bluffing and that the spotlight now shining on his actions could end his teaching career. The superintendent paused, recognizing that Elizabeth Bondi had mobilized powerful support behind her. "Very well," he finally conceded, his tone reluctantly respectful. "We will address this publicly. You have my word." Elizabeth nodded, her expression unyielding but satisfied. She turned back toward Pam, who rushed to meet her, hugging her tightly. "Did you hear that, Mom?" Pam whispered softly, her voice trembling with gratitude. "You did it." "No," Elizabeth corrected gently, her voice filled with emotion. "We did it. You had the courage to stand firm in the face of humiliation, and that courage inspired everyone here today." But as Pam took a relieved breath, thinking the battle was won, a sudden commotion erupted nearby. Voices rose sharply, drawing everyone's attention. Principal Thompson approached urgently, his face alarmed, pointing toward the school's main entrance. "You need to see this," he said gravely. "It is Mr. Carter. He has something to say." Pam's heart skipped a beat. What could her teacher possibly say now, after everything that had happened? Would his words finally bring closure and justice, or was yet another painful twist about to unfold? Everyone quickly gathered near the school's entrance, forming a tense semicircle around Mr. Carter. His usually confident demeanor had completely vanished, replaced by visible remorse and discomfort. He looked down briefly, taking a deep breath before lifting his eyes to meet Pam's gaze directly. "Pam, I owe you an apology," Mr. Carter began, his voice unsteady but sincere. "When I challenged you with that equation, my intention was not to encourage or educate, it was to humiliate and belittle. My actions were rooted in prejudice and arrogance. I deeply regret what I have done." A stunned silence fell over the crowd. Students exchanged surprised looks, many openly shocked by Mr. Carter's unprecedented admission. Pam stood speechless, hardly believing her ears. This was not the outcome she had anticipated. The teacher who had mocked her publicly was now humbly apologizing in front of everyone. Mr. Carter continued, his voice gaining strength as he spoke. "You have shown extraordinary intelligence, dignity, and strength. Qualities I failed to recognize because I was blinded by my own biases. I underestimated you, and I am ashamed. I sincerely hope you can forgive me." Pam felt a flood of emotions: relief, validation, and unexpected compassion. She realized this apology was more than a personal victory. It was a powerful lesson for everyone present about humility, accountability, and the destructive consequences of prejudice. Elizabeth placed a supportive hand on Pam's shoulder, her eyes filled with pride. The superintendent nodded approvingly, understanding the importance of this moment for the school and community. Pam took a deep breath and stepped forward, her voice clear and steady. "Mr. Carter, I accept your apology. I believe this moment can teach us all about the importance of respect and understanding. Let us use this as an opportunity to change and grow together." A ripple of applause started slowly, then spread quickly through the crowd, growing into enthusiastic cheers. For the first time, Pam saw genuine humility in her teacher's eyes. But just as she thought this challenging chapter had finally come to a close, an unexpected voice broke through the applause, startling everyone into silence once again. "Wait, there is something else you need to know." From the back of the crowd, everyone turned to see Principal Harris stepping forward, holding a document in his hand. His face carried an expression of seriousness mixed with urgency. Pam, Mr. Carter, and the gathered students watched silently, their curiosity piquing once again. "Before we end this assembly," Principal Harris began firmly, "there is something I must share. Pam Bondi is not just a gifted student. The complex equation Mr. Carter challenged her with was actually an unsolved mathematical puzzle from a prestigious national mathematics competition. What Pam solved in a matter of moments is something mathematicians have struggled with for months." Gasps filled the air, students and teachers alike exchanging wide-eyed glances. Pam felt her heart race with disbelief. She had not known the true significance of the equation. She had simply solved it out of instinct and skill. Principal Harris continued, turning to Pam directly. "Pam, your remarkable achievement has been recognized nationwide. The National Mathematics Association has officially invited you to receive an award for your exceptional genius and courage." The crowd erupted in cheers, louder and more heartfelt than before. Pam's eyes filled with tears of joy and pride. The humiliation and struggles she had faced had now transformed into recognition, respect, and honor. Mr. Carter stood speechless, humbled beyond measure, clearly moved by the reality of Pam's accomplishment. He stepped forward, extending his hand sincerely toward Pam, this time with genuine respect. "Congratulations, Pam. You deserve every bit of this recognition." Pam accepted his handshake, feeling deeply satisfied not just by her own vindication, but by the profound lesson everyone had learned that day. She turned to face her friends, classmates, and teachers, her voice strong and clear as she said, "Today proves that our true value is defined by our actions and abilities, not by prejudice or assumptions. Let us remember that intelligence, kindness, and respect are qualities that unite us, not divide us." As the cheering crowd surrounded Pam, congratulating her warmly, she knew her life had changed forever. Through courage, resilience, and compassion, she had not only solved a mathematical puzzle, but also taught an unforgettable lesson to everyone around her.